Today, we're going to learn the story of a young woman who, against all odds, became queen and changed the destiny of her people. But this isn't just a story from a distant past. It's a story that connects with your own life, with the decisions you need to make, and with the courage you need to transform your destiny. Esther's genealogy is an essential part of this contextualization. The book of Esther does not explicitly reveal her Jewish ancestry, but it gives us clues about her origins. Esther, also known as Hadassah, was the daughter of Abihail and was raised by her uncle Mordecai after the death of her parents. Esther 2:7. Mordecai was a Jew who was among the exiles taken to Persia. Therefore, Esther was a descendant of the tribe of Benjamin, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Esther's ascension to the throne as Queen of Persia was a providential event orchestrated by God, although his name is not explicitly mentioned in the book. The book of Esther is unique in the entire Bible because it is the only book that does not mention God's name, yet his action and presence are evident throughout the story. Esther was born into a context of exile and suffering. A young Jewish woman, without parents, raised by her Mordecai the first in a land that wasn't hers. Her people were marginalized, despised, and often invisible. Perhaps you felt something similar. Have you felt that no matter how hard you try, the world insists on keeping you on the sidelines? But, like Esther, you don't have to accept this as your final reality. Esther's life changed unexpectedly when King Ahasuerus, she chose her for a real competition. She could have felt inferior or incapable, but she decided to prepare. And here's a valuable lesson. When opportunity comes, are you prepared for it? What have you been doing to develop your potential, to be ready when the right moment arrives? The king was charmed by Esther and crowned her queen. But being queen was not just a privilege, it was a responsibility. Shortly afterward, a decree was signed to exterminate all the Jews in the empire. And it was at that moment that Esther had to make a decision, remain silent and ensure her own safety, or risk her life to save her people. Most people, when faced with a great challenge, feel fear. Fear paralyzes us, preventing us from acting. But have you ever stopped to think about what has been paralyzing your life? How many opportunities have you let slip away because fear convinced you that you weren't capable? Esther was afraid. But she made a decision. She fasted, prayed, and then presented herself before the king, even knowing she might die. And here's another great lesson. Success is a conscious choice. It requires courage, the ability to stand up even when everything is against you. Esther took an inventory of her life. Before going to the king, Esther assessed her journey, reflected on her calling, and decided to act. And this brings us to you. When was the last time you stopped to take stock of your life? Are you where you would like to be? Are your talents being used or forgotten? Are your relationships healthy or toxic? We cannot move forward without looking inward. Transformation begins when we know ourselves, when we understand what needs to be changed, and when we have the courage to act. When Esther appeared before the king, he could have condemned her to death, but that's not what happened. He extended his scepter, listened to her request, and in the end, the Jews were saved, and Haman, the villain of the story, was punished. Esther transformed the destiny of an entire people because she decided to act. So now the question remains, what do you need to transform in your own life? What decision do you need to make today to change your future? The story of Esther is more than just a biblical narrative. It's a powerful reminder that you have a mission, a voice, and a calling. Don't let fear, doubt, or circumstances stop you from being all that you were born to be. Like Esther, your courage can change not only your life, but the world around you. Esther was an orphan who grew up without great expectations for the future. She was a foreigner, living among a people who despised her, and she defied all odds. Esther had no status, influence, or wealth. However, something about her caught the king's attention. Her beauty? Perhaps. But there was something far more powerful. His essence, his wisdom, his presence. Esther teaches us that it doesn't matter where you come from, but where you are going. Life in the palace seemed like a dream. Esther now had luxury, influence, and comfort. However, Esther realized that her position was not just a privilege, but a mission. Now I ask you, are you living only in survival mode? Or do you have a greater purpose waiting to be discovered? Esther was afraid. After all, entering the king's presence uninvited meant death, unless he extended his scepter to pardon her. But she decided to take the risk. He asked his people to fast for 3 days. He prepared himself mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And then he uttered the phrase that changed his history. If I have to die, I will die. She chose to face the risk. And at the crucial moment when she entered the king's presence, something unexpected happened. The scepter was extended. Esther was not only accepted, but she had the power to reverse the decree. Her people were saved. How many times do you let fear paralyze you? How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid of what could go wrong? Esther teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Now it's your turn. Like Esther, you may be in a position where you need to make difficult choices. Perhaps it's a job, a relationship, a project, or a dream that's been shelved for years. Identify your mission. Are you merely surviving, or are you truly living your purpose? Face your fears. What would you do if you weren't afraid? What's stopping you from taking the next step? Make bold decisions. Major transformations require major actions. What decision can you make today that could change your life? My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. Isaiah 55:8. Grab a piece of paper now and write 3 things. What would you do if you had Esther's courage? What would give you the most satisfaction? What would make you feel proud of yourself? What decision do you need to make to take the next step in your life? What if everything you've experienced so far was just preparation for a decisive moment? How many times have you felt small in the face of life, as if your origins or circumstances defined your destiny? Esther teaches us that your history doesn't determine your future, but rather your choices. Perhaps your battle is not against a death sentence, but rather against the fear of taking risks, of failing, of being rejected. Face your fears. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Recognize your purpose. Are you merely existing, or are you living with a greater meaning? Take bold action. Major transformations require major decisions. What can you change today? Resistance to change is natural. Most people fear the unknown and cling to what is familiar, even if it means remaining in suffering. Haman, the enemy of the Jewish people, represents this force that tries to imprison us. He plotted against Esther and her people, just as difficulties try to undermine our confidence. But Esther was not intimidated. She knew that to win, she needed to act at the right time, with strategy and courage. Have you ever felt that nervous feeling in your stomach before making an important decision? When Esther entered the king's presence uninvited, her life was at stake. But she knew it was a necessary risk. Often, growth comes from pain, uncertainty, and sacrifice. Esther teaches us that if we want a different future, we need to be willing to face our fears. As the saying goes, no pain, no gain. Haman's fate shows us a powerful principle. That which is used against you can become your greatest victory. Haman was hanged on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. Similarly, the challenges we face can strengthen us. When she finally stood her ground, Esther was able to reverse a death decree and transform despair into celebration. Now, look at your own life. What is preventing you from moving forward? What needs to be transformed? Just as Esther needed strategy, courage, and faith, you too can take the first step. Whether you want to improve your health, your relationships, or your career, the decision is in your hands. Let's do an exercise. Close your eyes and imagine the person you want to become. Now, rate yourself from 1 to 10 in essential areas of your life: motivation, self-esteem, health, environment, purpose. What can you change today to get closer to this improved version of yourself? The story of Esther is not just a biblical account, it's a call to action. If you desire true change, you need to take control of your life. And remember, even in the face of fear, resistance, and pain, transformation is possible. Like Esther, you were born for a purpose. So, what will your choice be? Imagine you're facing a choice that could completely change your destiny. Do you accept life as it is, or do you dare to transform yourself to live the life you truly deserve? Now, think of Esther, a young orphan without possessions, without great expectations for the future. In the eyes of the world, she should accept her situation and conform. But something inside her told her there was more. She didn't know it yet, but she carried within her an unbreakable strength, the same strength you have within you now. Esther was taken to the palace, an unfamiliar environment, filled with fears and doubts. How many times have we felt like that? Displaced? Insecure? Afraid of not being good enough? But instead of clinging to fear, Esther made a decision. She would prepare herself. She would grow. This makes us reflect. What you accept defines what you receive. Often we make a deal with life to accept less than we deserve. We accept jobs that don't fulfill us, relationships that don't uplift us, a routine that suffocates us. But Esther did not accept the invisible agreement of mediocrity. She strengthened herself. She worked on herself. She waited for the right moment. And when the time came, when her people needed her, she did not back down. She faced her fear. Fear only has power when you obey it. How many times do we fail to act because our minds convince us that we are incapable? Esther was also afraid. But instead of running away, she prepared herself and moved forward. Now, look at your life. What is holding you back? What have you accepted without question? What deal have you made with yourself to live less than you dreamed of? It's time to break this agreement. It's time to broaden your vision, work on yourself, and claim the life you truly deserve. Esther began as a young woman with no prospects and became a queen who saved a nation. And you? What will your story be like? The answer lies in your decision. Do you accept or do you transform? If this message touched your heart, please share it and don't miss the next episode where we'll talk about A&A. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so we can reach even more women together. May God bless you.